Hello, my name is Mark Friend, and I am the coordinator of the Master of Science in Occupational Safety Management on the Daytona Beach campus of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. We're faced with a crisis now, the coronavirus. Our country has faced crises before, and hopefully we've learned from those events. As a professor of occupational safety, I had the opportunity to lead a group of graduate students on a post 9/11 trip to Quantico Marine Base, the Pentagon, and the World Trade Center. We learned a lot, and we had some surprises along the way. During the trip, we had the opportunity to visit with representatives from construction companies, first responders, the military, insurance companies, federal, state, and local agencies, and many who had a story to tell. For example, we spoke with a cab driver who recounted watching a plane dip below the horizon and then crash into the Pentagon. What were some surprises? At the Pentagon, workers were inside offices with bullet-resistant windows that cost $10,000 each. When the plane crashed into the building, fuel rushed to the front and then down the hallways on both sides. Workers were trapped because they couldn't break the glass to escape. Many died as a result. When the local Arlington Fire Department responded, they took control and had the authority to maintain that control for a few days, until the feds responded by taking back the authority a little bit later. In the World Trade Center, 2 safety guys were appointed to oversee the operations during the cleanup. Both were named Gary. Gary said they had no office space when they arrived on the morning of 9/12. They wound up working out of a men's restroom. They covered the room with visqueen plastic and went to work, trying to protect both the employees and the volunteers in the operations. This was a learning experience for all of us. How does this relate to what we're experiencing now with the coronavirus? There are lessons to be learned from their experiences in terms of both preparation and response. Number 1, we must recognize the threats. On 9/11, it was terrorists. Today, it is the coronavirus. It was a threat, it is a threat, and it will likely continue to be a threat. We can't relax. We must maintain vigilance as a nation, as individuals. Many of the practices we are learning now to protect ourselves will continue as we move forward. Next, we must identify potential targets. What and who are they? In this case, they are us, the people living, working, studying, playing, and being a part of our local community and our nation. The virus targets people, and as we've heard, some animals. Next, we must protect our perimeters. The enemy lived among us then as terrorists and lives among us now as a virus. We must continue to practice social distancing, less touching, and better hygiene, as they will continue to pay off. Next, we have to evaluate points of vulnerability and how we protect those points: skin, eyes, nose, mouth, on our persons. We also have to recognize that the people we love and care about are also vulnerable, and we do all we can to protect them and those around us. Next, we must have appropriate supplies and personal protective equipment, or PPE, on hand. At the World Trade Center, temperatures just underground were as high as 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit. Workers would have the bottoms of heavy-duty work boots melt away in a couple of hours. Respondents and workers needed respiratory protection and instruction on how to use this and other PPE. Many people who volunteered did not know how to don face masks or did not believe they were important to wear. Today, we are losing as many of the responders to the results of breathing carcinogens as we did immediately following the collapse of the World Trade Center buildings. We must know how to protect ourselves and practice those procedures and be certain we are properly equipped for the future. This is especially true for our hospitals and medical professionals, but also for service providers in various industries. Also, responders did not necessarily have caregivers for their children or older adults living with them when they were out working those long hours. This must be anticipated, and arrangements must be made for when emergencies arise. This brings up my final point. Pre-planning is essential. As we undergo the stresses of dealing with this pandemic, we must think about the future and steps we need to take to protect ourselves and our loved ones. We read, listen to the news reports, and converse with others. We can't take things lightly or accept them as they come. We need to think about what we need to do to sustain ourselves and those around us. It requires thought, planning, and sometimes sacrifice. We give up the short-term benefits for the long-term gains. I've only mentioned a few considerations based on my experience and exposure to events that occurred nearly 2 decades ago. But we need to learn from these experiences. Pushing back against these problems makes us stronger. And hopefully when we get to the other side of this crisis, we'll be better equipped and have a better mindset to handle another one in the future. Please take care and be safe. Thank you.